Week 14, let's go, everybody. Welcome back to The Process, Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment's fantasy football podcast, the best free information, pound for pound, that you're going to find out there. If you're new to the show, welcome in. We love first time offenders. If you are not new, if you've been listening, you're a repeat offender. I love a hard head. Welcome back. Couple of ways we can all stay connected before we jump into the action. www.tigerbombsae.com. That is the Tiger Bomb website. You can click on the process page, listen to this podcast there, watch this podcast there via the YouTube link if you would like. That's another way that you can keep up with us. Watch on YouTube. Just search for Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment. Like the page, then you can follow the process. And the other podcasts are available there too, although those aren't in video. If you guys are on the go with your podcast, like you do it through Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Stitcher, whatever, not a problem. Just search for Tiger Bomb Audio Entertainment, Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment, excuse me. Then this will pop up. Like and subscribe. You can catch all the episodes. So again, if you like any of that other stuff, baseball, true crime, any of that, you can catch us there. If you're a social media person, Facebook or Twitter, at The Process, TBSAE. All right, guys, that's how we can stay connected. If you have questions or something like that after the show. But it's time for us to get into week 13, the welcome back week for one Deshaun Watson. A lot of stuff going on as teams try to ascend to the playoffs, as we try to ascend to the playoffs. So we're going to break it down with all of our usual segments as we would every week. And as you guys can see, I am rocking the college gear for the championship weekend. LSU and Tulane with pretty big games today. We'll see how that's unfolding once I get done with you guys. But business first. We have a goal that we set out to do, and that is win fantasy football, know what we need to know every week. I take on the burden of that, pass it on to you guys so that you can sound amazing, so that you can know more, so that you can achieve whatever it is you're trying to do. So at this point in the year, I want to encourage you guys to think about the goal you set. Did we come short? Did we make it? If so, what's playing into that? And try to understand so that we can get better. That's what it's all about. Learn, scout, win, repeat. That's what we do here. All right, guys. At that, we're just going to hop into everybody's favorite segment, a little bit of housekeeping. Short and sweet intro for you guys this week. We do have top 5 for the YouTube crew. Know you guys are going to love that. Our top 5 this week is actually going to be, it's statistical. We're going to go over the top 5 teams against the pass. Important stuff to know as we get to the playoffs, even as we look, not even just for fantasy purposes, but real life, who's going to do what. We want to know which teams are going up, which teams are going down. So it's important that we understand statistically what these teams bring to the table. Fair enough? Fair enough. Number 5 on our top 5 teams against the pass. So this isn't including pressure, pass rush, or whatever. This is like overall passing yardage against these teams. So we're counting down the top 5 best teams. Number 5 on our list is the New York Jets. They've been tough against the pass all year. Obviously, Sauce Gardner coming in has uplifted this secondary, but they play well as a unit. Incidentally, it's because they do get good pressure from their front. And so that does make the job easier on the back end. They've played some really good units as well in terms of Miami, Buffalo, so no slouches. And they continue to excel. The thing that makes this defense overall really, really dangerous is they're pretty good against the run as well. And so they don't have a lot of weaknesses. Which is something that is, as we can see, can be difficult for teams to deal with. Buffalo, very difficult for them to deal with this. So number 5 on our top 5 teams against the pass, New York Jets. So they're going to anchor down on the defense as the year goes along here to the end. They want to try to make a playoff push. If they do that, they're going to get stability from the run game, as the defense being the star, right? That's the first and foremost. And Mike White hopefully is making the passing offense viable. That will help the run game too. But the Jets can go far, guys, if they figure it out. Yes, they have James Robinson, but not sure what's going on with him. Maybe he's not picking up the playbook. That's what I'm thinking, or they're not satisfied with what they're seeing. But for whatever reason, still leaning on Carter a lot, who won't be available this week. So the road gets tougher there. But defensive wise, number 5 against the pass, New York Jets. All right, we've got our housekeeping set up for the week. Short and sweet here. So not a lot of notes because, at this point we're wrapping the season up. That's the first thing we need to talk about. Season long, we want to finish strong. We want to put a cap on this year. If you're like me, you're mostly looking at playoff spots, playoff rankings. I have one team we're still trying to fight and make it. But either way, we got to finish strong. Don't mail it in. Even if you're at the top, stay aggressive. Even if the matchups look weak, you don't want to get out of tune with what you're seeing and doing in terms of research every week, because taking that week off sometimes can hurt us. Just like in real life, sometimes taking the week off to bye can hurt the teams because they get hot and then they cool down, right? So we don't want to cool down. So we want to finish strong. We have to go into this week prepared to cement our position or climb up if necessary. And so hopefully you've been playing the depth chart. So if you've had these injuries, doesn't matter, right? Next guy up, because you already figured out who you will play in what sequence. Outside of that, DFS, we want to switch gears for a moment. Wrapping this up, hasn't been the best DFS year. I feel like it was tougher on these sites. Like, for whatever reason, crushed it 14, 15, weeks last year, bringing back more than we put out. Different ball game this year, but we did learn. We did win some, and we still have to the end of the year. One tournament could turn all that around. So same story here. We want to finish strong. And to that accord, we need to pay attention to the shifts in the wind, right? Pay attention to teams with nothing to play for now is something we have to do also, because they'll be giving some guys a shot right now so they can see what they have for next year. I think that is a lot of what we might see too. And so we have to pay attention to usage. This could be a thing that could carry us to tournament victories. Low-owned guys who, haven't been getting a lot of rep all year because some team is out of it or whatever, right? So we need to pay attention to that. In addition to obviously always wanting to play the hot teams that need to get in, right? Like, that's the other things. Like, teams right on the cusp, teams trying to make the wild card, teams fighting for the division, because they have to do the thing, right? So if you keep that into consideration, just know that Minnesota is getting awfully close to, this could be like one of the earliest clinches ever. I think they have a chance to do that this week. So it's kind of like, think about that moving forward. If they clinch their division already, can they still get home field? If that's possible, great. If not, then what are they doing? Are they sitting people? So we got to be paying attention. Ooh, sorry guys, I need to take a drink there. Also, for housekeeping, another thing we need to think about, guys on IR who might be coming back. Mostly, I don't want to tell you for seasonal to be thinking about relying on these guys, because we got to win to even get to whatever weeks they're coming back, right? And so you're either winning or you're not. If you're not, then them coming back won't help you. If you are winning, maybe you don't need them anyway. So, but the thing is, some guy might not just come right back in and step right back into his position or his role or that usage. And it's a playoff game. So you can't have a ramp up game when it should be a playoff game. So I'm mostly out on all these end of the year IR guys who may come back for playoff teams, with the exception of Goddard, because tight end's a desolate, barren wasteland. And they're aiming to get him back for week 15, which is playoffs for us, which is perfect. He's an integral part of the offense. They do need to, have more stability in the passing game. That is a guy we'll be interested in. They've been saying all along, like, all the conversation has always been towards him doing that, leaning back towards that time frame, and he's keeping up with it, right? And so that's something that we want to pay attention to. There's not a lot of upside at tight end. So if we can get him, we're there. But those are our housekeeping notes for this week. If you didn't win as much as you were hoping for this year, let me encourage you to keep going on, man. Like sometimes you got to have the bad to understand and celebrate the good. So think about it like that. But what can you do to get better? And maybe if we relied a little bit on too much what we saw last year, think about that. We preach that here at the process. Each season is different. The things that we need to do this year are different from the things that would have won last year. Hence me getting out on Taylor for Jefferson. But let's start thinking about if we didn't have all the success we wanted, how can we change that? What can we do to make that different moving forward? All right, those are our housekeeping notes for the week, guys. Okay. And we'll keep moving right along with our YouTube top five. Top five being the this week being the teams against the pass, and number 5 on our list was the Jets, of course, and number 4 on our list, number 4 toughest team against the pass, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bucs are still fighting for playoff position, right? The Bucs are still trying to get in there, and the defense is not going to let them down, I don't think. And ultimately, they're getting healthier on the front too, and so they'll have some guys to better defend the run. But the Bucs have been tough in the secondary. Now they've got some injuries this week, so that might soften things up a little bit for the Saints. But moving forward, this is a team that can be trusted to keep it close. And then it's like all on the shoulders of Brady, right? I mean, guys, they're far from out of it. Like they are far from out of it. They could easily go on the run. Now Tristan Wirfs going down left tackle, that doesn't actually help, which is not great. But they've been pretty solid as a group, keeping Brady upright and not having him be pressured. So, only upside there. So that's our number 4 when I list the top 5 defenses against the pass. All right, guys. So moving right along to would you rather, keep it simple, like we do every week. 12 conundrums. Jamal Williams versus Joshua Palmer this week. And I think both these guys are in a decent spot, but the emergence of DeAndre Carter is going to have me back off on Palmer. I'll say Williams, just roll is cemented. We know Swift's out there, but Williams is the goal line back. Much better value. Tyler Lockett or Miles Sanders this week. Now, I'm going to say Tyler Lockett because Seattle going up against the Rams is probably a better matchup this week. Tennessee facing off with Philadelphia. Philly's at home, but I think they're going to have to pass to beat the Titans. I think the issue is can you beat them in the air? And it's a revenge thing for A.J. Brown, so lean into it, right? I think Miles Sanders takes a step back on the ground this week. That's just a tougher road against the Titan defense. Whereas Lockett should be all systems go in that matchup. There's not that there's an injury on the Rams defensive side outside of obviously not having Aaron Donald on the front. So there's no rush now, right? So I do think that Geno will have all day. And there's not been a lot of shadowing by Jalen Ramsey. And if he does shadow somebody, I think it would be Metcalf. So I love Tyler Lockett. Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Zonovan Knight this week. I will say Knight, but it's close. I think Ty Williams can eclipse Knight this week, actually, and upset a lot of people. So we won't be going so heavy on Knight. But Peoples-Jones has been a part of the offense all year. It's not a terrible spot. But against Houston, we obviously know they're one of the worst teams against the run. So you have Chubb, you have Hunt. I think they get primary workload here. Cooper maybe, outside of that because there's no Stingley. But then I just don't think they need to get to Peoples-Jones. Even the matchup at tight end is better, even though there's no Njoku, it's Harrison Bryant. Still a solid matchup. So Peoples-Jones might get a little left out this week, but I don't think that's terrible for him on the offense as a whole moving forward this year. There's a role for him. There's a reason he's here. Deshaun wanted him here. He wanted to play with him. There's some chemistry there. Obviously, as we said, he's got a cement role in the offense anyway. So moving forward, if this was like for the rest of the year, I'd say Peoples-Jones. But this week, we'll go narrowly. Okay, Jeff Wilson or Devonta Smith. Jeff Wilson scared us a little bit last week, but was able to come back, get some reps at the end of that game. Devonta Smith's going to be cleared to go, but they are facing the 49ers. Pretty tough on defense in all aspects. I would go with Devonta Smith, Philly going against the Titans in the pass game, over Jeff Wilson, the ground game, running up against the 49ers defense. So I would just say it's a matchup thing there. Smith this week. Terry McLaurin versus Rachaad White. I think Fournette is going to play, but I think Rachaad White will still get some reps. I would take McLaurin in a tough matchup, though, over a shared Tampa Bay backfield. And there might be more opportunity to pass for Tom Brady and company anyway against this banged up Saints secondary. We'll talk about that a little later too, but Marshawn Lattimore might be making his return. And Cordell Patterson, Devonta Smith or Rachaad White. Devonta Smith. Cordell Patterson or Garrett Wilson. I would say Garrett Wilson this week. We'll talk about it in reload. I don't think Patterson's a complete bust this week, although some people are leaning that way. We won't go that far. But Garrett Wilson, he's in a much better spot. Jets defense. I think that is the path to victory for them against Minnesota as opposed to pounding the rock. Guys, I'm sorry. Something in my throat. Okay, Allen Lazard versus Brian Robinson Jr. I'll take Brian Robinson this week. Gibson being banged up. Robinson should see more run in the neutral matchup. Lazard, not a terrible matchup, but there's the emergence of Watson, and it's a ground game sort of scenario for Green Bay. But I don't feel bad about Lazard, but over the two, Robinson. Nico Collins or Rachaad White. I take Nico Collins. Houston should be getting blown out, but there's not going to be any cooks. And so he was de facto number one last week. I look forward to more of that this week. Christian Watson or Isaiah Pacheco. Watson not in a terrible spot. We'll take Pacheco, though. Banged up McKinnon. We think, serves his purpose well for Isaiah Pacheco. Chiefs should have a great opportunity to run the ball a bit in this game. I don't see it as a completely terrible matchup. They've had worse matchups over the past couple of weeks, but Cincinnati should provide some path to victory on the ground, or at least enough for Pacheco to, I think, eclipse Watson this week. Miles Sanders versus Michael Pittman Jr. I think in this scenario, I'm probably going to go with Miles Sanders. Again, tougher matchup for him. But in terms of Indianapolis going up against Dallas, I just don't see Pittman having a great opportunity to catch many passes. Dallas's defense is tough. Pittman Jr. or Dameon Pierce. I will say Pierce this week. Houston, I would say, look, Cleveland can be had on the ground, but also Pierce is running into the rookie wall. So, long season, it's wearing on him. Not a lot of production the past couple of weeks, but the matchup's good. So we would take him there. And that, ladies and gents, is our Would You Rather for this week. So now you know who I rather play. Hopefully that helps you determine who you'd rather play. And we're going to keep moving along for our YouTube crowd with our top 5 defenses against the pass. Number 5, again, was the Jets. Number 4, of course, was the Buccaneers, as we discussed. Now, number 3, I think this is the only team on the list that probably is not going to be, looking at the playoffs. Not even probably. We can say they're not looking at the playoffs. But it's the Broncos. They've been tough. Patrick Surtain II, just a beast, absolute beast. He anchors what is a really good unit. I feel like trading Chubb definitely took some of the teeth out of this unit as a whole, but the secondary remains, what they are, and they're a top unit. There's no doubt about that for sure. I think, like I said, it's not enough to overcome Russ, who's on pace for what 13 touchdowns or something just that this year. So I don't think that they, as good as they've been, that they can put the team on their back and have a bunch of success enough to have a postseason. It's not been great. It's not been great for Hackett and company. I won't sugarcoat it, but nonetheless, Broncos are the number 3 team in terms of top 5 teams against the pass. All right, it's time for that special time of week where we go ahead and hit you with the reload. We already ran through the Buffalo New England game on Thursday, 24-10. Just too much sauce from Buffalo. New England not able to play keep up. We see the tides are changing. The winds are shifting in the AFC East, and New England, they have a pretty good defense, but you have to be able to have more success than that team probably can generate to beat the Buffalo Bills. So pretty simple there. Good game for Diggs and company. Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh at Atlanta. So we'll start here, 10 a.m. Steelers going up against the Falcons. I mentioned earlier I didn't think this was a terrible thing for Atlanta, even though Pittsburgh been pretty solid against the run. Inside runs they crush a little more. Outside runs they have a little more problem with. I think that's the scenario that's going to work out for Cordell Patterson probably. Those outside runs. So if you got to play them in seasonal, feel fine about it. But other than that, I know Pittsburgh a little softer against, in the air, but obviously they have Watt back now. So I think the rush is going to be there a little more. I'm not overly invested in the Atlanta passing offense. I know we played Mariota last week. I don't think we need to do that this week. But Olamide Zaccheaus, I think, is probably a decent play. And we will incorporate him into what we do in DFS world. On the Pittsburgh side of things, should have a fair time running the football here against the Atlanta front. Najee's going to go, so you get to split with him and Harris, maybe a little more Harris this week because of the injury designation earlier on. But, I probably sit Najee and seasonal. Sit Jalen and seasonal, but play Najee. DFS, I stay away from both of them probably. Pittsburgh, path to victory through the air, but I just don't trust Pickett like I've been saying. So, if you want to play Pickens, you can. It's not for me, if anything, Freiermuth. But this is a game that it's going to be a tough one. Pittsburgh, I think they don't have enough to win this one. I want to say them as an upset, but I'm going to give it to Atlanta to try to keep their playoffs hopes alive here at home on Sunday. Reload. Broncos going up against the Ravens. So Denver traveling to Baltimore. Denver's so flat on offense. Russ so flat on offense. I think it's a great spot for Sutton. Judy might play even better for Sutton. I'm out on Judy. He might not even play. Either way, Sutton's the only guy. And it's just iffy because Russ, hasn't been great this year, but he's got it to him enough. Sutton's made what he can out of it. So even for DFS, for cash games this week, the price is so low on him and the matchup is so good. We got to take a chance on that. As far as the rest of the Denver offense goes, I'm not really looking at the run against Baltimore this week or, the tight end or any of the other receivers. It's going to be a losing game for them, I think. For Baltimore, their defense could lead the way. I could see that happening. Path to victory, probably on the ground here. We just talked about, for the YouTube crowd, at least how tough Broncos are through the air. So Lamar, getting to the wide receivers, I don't think so. It's not a talented bunch anyway. Likely he can get it to Andrews. Andrews in play for sure. Lamar in play for sure. That's them in the defense. That's probably the only things I'm interested in the game. They should cruise to win. Reload. All right, Sunday at Chicago. Green Bay going to beat up the Bears. And I was thinking about this one, and if Fields were, 100% healthy, I'd say sure. I'm just not sure. So I'm going to go against. I'm going to say the Packers, but it's a ground game for both teams. So for Chicago, Montgomery, I love it. Komet's in play so long as Fields plays. Mooney's out, so I think that's really all you had. There's not. This is another reason why I'm out on Fields this week is he doesn't even have Mooney now. He already doesn't have a lot of weapons, and so we're taking one more away. But the ground game should lead the way. Green Bay, the path to victory is on the ground. So Jones, I could see that for sure. If you have interest in Dylan, fine, but I probably stay away from him from seasonal and DFS. Jones is a lock choice though. Should be a great game. Chicago, I'm thinking cold, so pound the rock. As far as the Green Bay defense, they'll be good against the secondary. So like I said, in the secondary, so like I said, out, you know, Chicago might even get some turnovers thrown that way. But as far as like Green Bay's passing offense goes, Chicago's not the worst team in the world, but they could be had. Watson, I just don't know the order. I would say Watson and Lazard are the guys to watch over like a Tanyan or anybody else, but Jones is the first option, then maybe Watson, and then I would say probably Lazard. But they're in a good spot, I think, all around to win this game with the banged up Bears. Just also don't have a lot to shoot for. If they know what's good for them, lose this game. You need that draft pick spot, right? So don't go out of your way to win this one, even if it is against the hated Packers. Reload. Jacksonville going to Detroit. This should be a good one for Lawrence. He's taken some steps forward. It's been fun to watch the past couple of weeks. He's obviously going to struggle with the top end defenses, but he can do some damage against the lower end defenses. And Detroit is a pretty bad defense. So I love him. Etienne should be back, which alleviates some of his workload. I like Etienne this week. And I also like, and there's no Henderson. So if Etienne goes and he's healthy, he's going to get the run. And we like Kirk. I don't want to overthink it and start thinking Zay Jones and Marvin Jones and all that. I'll just keep going Kirk and Evans, or Evan Ingram rather, as the primary choices there, knowing sometimes that, in tougher matchups, maybe he's hitting Zay Jones instead, but this isn't a tougher matchup. I think they can get it to Kirk here. As far as, like I said, Jacksonville on the ground, Etienne, no problem there. Lock it in. Detroit, I like both running backs. On DFS, we play them together because I'm not sure, maybe Swift gets more yards, but like we said, Williams gets the touchdown. So we want a little bit of both of that. That's going to be a winning effort, and the price is fine. But Goff's not in a bad spot. I don't think we need to go there for DFS World this week, but if you had to for seasonal, something like that, maybe you had Kyler or whatever, do it. Feel fine about that. He's at home. It's not that terrible of a matchup. Jacksonville has a little bit of a rush, but he should be fine. Running game should help as well. So I like, Amon Ra, I like him this week. He's in play. I couldn't say which of the other receivers outside of him, though, that I'd like to see step up. But there's more than enough options. Keep Detroit in this one. And this is going to be a toss-up of a game. I'll say they win it because they're at home, but this is going to be a really tough game. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to overtime. There could be points in this one, really. So, reload. Cleveland at Houston, the Deshaun Watson Bowl. Man, and it's in Houston, too. The funny thing is, I think the inclination is to think he comes out there and slings it, like he's John Wayne and just kills them and feels great doing it against Houston, the hated team that he wanted to get away from. I don't necessarily want to buy that because Houston's so terrible against the run. So Chubb and Hunt, we want to play both of them in DFS this week. I think Cleveland can get up, blow it out, then Hunt gets more run. So that's why I think play them both. But certainly, Cooper, great spot, as we mentioned before. Would you rather? He's going up against, he would be going up against Derek Stingley, but he's not going to play. So clear sailing there. Harrison Bryant stepping in for Njoku, also in a good spot. There's no bad spots there, but I just think his first game back, sure, there's some production, but you ease him in. If I had to trust any of the passing options, it'd be Cooper to try to establish your 1-2 guy. But outside of that, the run should lead the way, and the defense should have a good one too. I know they've had some problems against the run, but like I said, Pierce coming up against the rookie Wall, so I don't know how dynamic he's going to be. There's no Cooks, and so Nico Collins, I think, has to get the production. from Kyle Allen or whoever's going to be back there. But I think this is just like Miami beat them up last week, and Miami hasn't been like the best defense in the world. I think Cleveland, we could ride them again this week and against Houston, right? We might just need to play against Houston to end the year. Reload should be a fun one. Jets at Minnesota. I like this game. I don't know how many points we get, but this is going to be a heavyweight bout because I think Minnesota's defense is going to play better than people think at home. Jets have a really good defense. They're stout against the pass, stout against the run. I would say probably more success could be had maybe on the ground a little bit. I don't know, but they're pretty tough against both fronts. They can rush the quarterback. So Cousins, not great when he gets the rush. He's going to have to get rid of it. This is a part of the reason why they got beat up so badly by the Cowboys. And so we're going to have to see if he can get rid of it. Screen dumps to Dalvin Cook. You got to go with that. I think that bails you out here a little bit to take some of that pressure off. But those short ones, you could, Jefferson, you never say he's not in play, but it's going to be a pretty tough matchup against Sauce and company. Thielen, probably a little bit of an easier path to victory for him. Hawkinson, even easier path to victory for him. So I could see Hawkinson and Cook helping ease the offense along and take pressure off of the rush basically up front by the Jets. And they can do enough to win this game, provided that their defense keeps the Jets on their heels and forces a mistake. Mike White can be fine against this Minnesota secondary. I think Garrett Wilson is certainly in play above all the other wide receivers. There's nothing to fear there. And as far as the running game goes, probably a little bit tougher on the ground against Minnesota. But we did see a spark from Zonovan last week. We also saw Ty Williams mix in too. So I think those two guys, again, like I said, Ty probably having a chance to take more of the lead. I think, surprisingly, more people not thinking about that. But the path to victory would have to be through the air. I think Minnesota can win this game because eventually Mike White will, I think, make a mistake that costs them. Not as much firepower probably as Minnesota. But I think ultimately what happens is it's probably a mistake that shortens the field for Minnesota, which makes it an easier job against the Jets defense. But I think they find a way to win this one here at home, and they improve to 10-2 while they do it. Reload. Washington at the Giants. First time this year these two teams are going to hook up, both trying to run that, get to that wild card spot. For Washington, we mentioned Gibson banged up. I think he's probably going to give it a go, but it's more Robinson, and he's looked like he's in a good spot. Tougher matchup for McLaren. He's going to see that probably, shadow matchup from Adoree Jackson. Tougher matchup for him. I don't want to rely on any of those ancillary pieces there. The Washington defense is going to keep them in this. They have, get some pressure up front. Danny Jones has the opportunity, if he can get the ball off quick enough, to get it to his receivers, but they're so banged up in terms of wide receivers. I mean, Slayton's about the only thing you could, count on. I don't know if they're going to get Bellinger back at tight end. They're a little tough against the run, so, Barkley might be tougher that road for him, but certainly catching passes is in play for him. So play him and feel great about it. And, seasonal, I probably stay away in DFS, but in this one, I think it's going to be like maybe a lower scoring game than what people are thinking. I think the Giants are going to have to prove that they're not descending. But in this one, I think there's going to be an upset, and I think Washington is going to be led by the defense, and I think they're actually going to win this game. Reload. Tennessee at Philly. A.J. Brown revenge game. Definitely some bad blood in the way things were handled with his contract at the end there. Easier path to victory against Tennessee is by passing as opposed to running by far. Hurts and company going to light them up. All systems go for A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith as well. We like him. Those will be the primary options. The Philly defense should be in play as well. Tannehill's going to be facing off against the rush. He's going to have to get the ball out. They're tough against the pass, Philadelphia. So I don't, foresee a lot of success there. You got to run. You got to try to run and hope that Philly is softer on the ground. So bigger opportunity for King Henry. But I think ultimately Tennessee is not going to be able to play this one as slow as they want to. They want to grind it out, let the running game be the big focus for them and eat the clock and get ahead that way. Philly is going to light it up when they get the ball. And their defense is just not that bad. So I think Tennessee might have their backs against the wall, and A.J. Brown's going to be so motivated. I can't stress that enough. Philadelphia wins this one at home, keeps rolling. Reload. Seattle at the Rams. Stafford's done. IR, he's done. Concussion protocol twice now for the year. He's done. So, serious letdown kind of year for the Rams, but there's no Stafford this week. There's no Donald this week. So, it's a really good opportunity to be a Seahawk this week. You could have, Walker's in a good spot. The receivers are in a pretty decent spot as well. Because there won't be any rush. There's no injuries in the secondary, but there won't be any rush. I still think they'll be able to get it off, as we talked about in the previous segment. Seattle, their defense should play fine here as well. Going up against the backup, right, quarterback, and ultimately, also, the running game hasn't been stable. The offensive line has been terrible. So, is it a good spot for the run game for the Rams? It is. Kyron Williams and Cam Akers, decent spot. We're going to play it in DFS and just split the backfield that way as a salary saver because the matchup is good, but I don't have the highest of hopes for it. It's a tournament play for sure, but we'll give it a shot. And then as far as, what else the Rams can do passing wise, I mean, I don't know. Seattle a little bit tougher to beat in the secondary. I'm not seeing a whole lot of opportunity for success. Maybe Van Jefferson, but I would stay away from most of it. It just doesn't seem like a game they're going to win. Seattle should be able to do enough offensively. Defense won't get burned by this Rams group, even though they're in LA. Reload. Miami at San Francisco. Junior coming back home to play senior. Miami head coach coming back to where it all started for him with Shanahan. So this should be a fun one. And some similarities with their systems. San Francisco is awfully good on both aspects of defense against run in the pass. That's going to be the separator here, I think, versus Miami. Now, the thing is, Miami's got better quarterback play than San Francisco does. This is a good game for San Francisco to air it out. Miami's much worse against the pass. And so I think, that's the road to victory. Injuries in the backfield for San Francisco, like usual. So I think you can look forward to that hybrid halfback role for Deebo Samuel for sure now because there's more uncertainty in the backfield. So I think he's in play for sure. His price is a little low considering the opportunities that he's going to have lined up in different places. But Brandon Ayuk, I don't have a problem with him this week. Kittle's the one in the great spot, though. Garoppolo in a great spot. He should be able to get it out to CMC in those passes. I like that. On the Miami side of things, like we said, Tua has been dangerous all year, but the San Fran defense has been pretty good too. Jeff Wilson coming back to play his former team as well. So he should be all systems go. They have Mostert as well. I mean, they've just been so tough at San Francisco up front and so tough against the pass. Miami's on the road. I'm just going to take San Francisco here, but I do think that Tyreek Hill can blow the top off the defense, try to keep things interesting. But Waddle, I think, has the opportunity to have more of a consistent day moving the ball down the field for Miami. They might be outmatched, though. San Fran's looking pretty good. This will be a fun one either way. I'll take San Fran. At home, master beats pupil. Reload. Kansas City at Cincinnati. AFC Championship rematch. Chase should be back in this one. All systems go with him. Jamar Chase should be ready to roll. So he's in play. Higgins in play for sure. I believe Mixon's going to play. Some problems getting out of concussion protocol. Looks like he's going to play. You could run, but I don't know if you're going to have the opportunity to do that if Kansas City has their way, right? Juju Smith-Schuster is going to play for Kansas City. They seem to be bringing him along slowly because Mahomes can hit whoever he wants, right? So I think it's safe to play him this week, but if you want to play him with somebody, it has to be Kelsey, even though it's not the greatest matchup for a tight end. Kelsey's tight matchup proof, though. So we could still play him. But Pacheco, great spot. McKinnon been banged up all week. So if they don't want to rely on him, I think they won't have to. The issue though is pass pro, right? Like unless Pacheco, he can't be an every down back unless he gets better at pass protection. So that's why McKinnon will be out there, and we know that they will sling it. So he'll have his opportunities on the field for sure. But feel good about Pacheco in a game they should be ahead. They want to be ahead and try to run the ball out, right? So, but it should be a fun one. I think Kansas City gets their revenge here. Cincinnati's still trying to put it together. They've been better defensively. They know what it takes to beat this team. I think they're going to get up for them, but I can't see Kansas City dropping two in a row, including the last playoff games against this team. They're on the statement mission right here, and I think Mahomes is on the MVP mission statement here. So it's all systems go. You lock him in. You lock in Kelsey. Pacheco should be fine. Everything else ancillary will fall into play behind that in the game that they win. Reload. Chargers on the road taking on the Vegas Raiders. As far as the Chargers go, Herbert should be in a pretty decent spot. I think he's in a better spot than Eckler, but Eckler should still be fine. Probably a little too expensive for DFS. Seasonal fine. As far as wide receivers go, Keenan Allen's going to play. I'm not sure about the consistency there. DeAndre Carter is the guy I have more interest in. Seems to have eclipsed Palmer last week. And so interesting there. If you need something in seasonal, I would, maybe take a stab there. DFS, we're definitely going to take a stab because the price is so cheap. But that's the path to victory for them. On the Vegas side of things, it's running the ball. The Chargers are a little stouter in the secondary, but Josh Jacobs, it's Jacobs time again this week. He had over 300 yards a couple weeks ago himself, right? So this man can put it on his back and do it. This is the opportunity to do that in this one. And that's the path to victory. So we like him. That's a lock button play right there. And it leads the way for everything else. Does that open things up for Devontae Adams? I do think so, for sure. Will I play Adams in DFS? Probably not. In seasonal, you're fine. But I do think that, not the most points going to be scored this week in this one, but there is a clear path to some points being put up. Jacobs leads the way, though, for sure. Chargers side of things should be a little bit more fluid, moving the ball, forcing the Raiders to try to play keep up. I would say the Chargers are probably going to win this one, though. They're a better team than Vegas. The thing is, if they can come out gunning, then Vegas will have to go away from the run at some point if they don't have the lead. So I think that is what ends up bites into the production of Jacobs. But if you have him in seasonal, feel fine. DFS, I feel like it's more of a kind of a little bit of a gamble, but the matchup is so good that we want to take it into consideration, but because of the price, we're probably playing them in tournaments. Reload. Indianapolis going to Dallas. Dallas too tough on defense for this Indianapolis team. Obviously Taylor playing the seasonal, feel fine. I've got no interest in any of these Indy pieces going up against Dallas. This should be a cake game for Dallas. In terms of how do they beat Indianapolis, probably tougher through the air, but Lamb should be fine when moving into the slot. And then also the running game, both backs, Pollard and Zeke, I like it. So that's the path to victory, but the defense will shine. That's going to be the MVP for Dallas. That's going to lead the way. They're going to force the turnovers. They're going to create the short field matchups. Dallas wins this one handily. And on to our final shots. We'll make it a good one. We'll reload for Monday night. It's the Saints at Tampa Bay. Guys, I'm so nervous for this one because Marshawn Lattimore might be coming back. Serious kidney injury, right? Infection or whatever. We know the history between him and Mike Evans. It's like the matchup is good for Evans. He's either going to score a bunch of points or they're going to get kicked out for fighting right away. It's almost like I'm almost convinced if Lattimore plays, they're just going to fight right away and both be ejected from the game. I'm so worried about it. So if you're playing that on Monday night, just know the risk is there. He's been ejected for fighting this guy plenty of times before. They have bad blood. If you don't know about this, look it up on YouTube. It's out there. You should know about it, though. Your head hasn't been in the sand, I hope. But in terms of, this who can win this match, I think Tampa Bay has it. Now, they should find some success on the ground. I know Fournette's going to play, so I can't really say which back I like more, him or Rachaad White. I think just splitting that time together, they get the job done. Evans isn't a good matchup, but probably more so Godwin is the guy we're looking at. And then Julio, probably a beneficiary as well. Tom should be able to continue to have his team play well and move towards the playoffs. The defense should play well too, but they're banged up in the secondary. So Dalton, who's been pretty efficient this year, should be able to get it to Olave. He's going to have Jarvis Landry back. I think that's a big boon. I like Landry in this one on Monday night. So I'm, wherever I can, maybe play him to offset Evans. But that's the path to victory. Tampa Bay tougher against the run, I think, and they're getting tougher up front too. We're getting some of those guys healthier. So Kamara hasn't been great recently. I don't think it's a great matchup anyway. New Orleans should probably have the pass to keep up, but I'm going to say their backs are against the wall. Just too few weapons as Brady and company starts to figure it out. Even though they're banged up on the O-line, I still think they get the job done led by their defense. And they win that one. So that is it for the week, guys. That's our reload section. You now know what I'm thinking game script wise we're going to run into. So hopefully that helps you make some decisions. Nice reload segment for the week. And we're coming down to everybody's favorite. But obviously, before we do that, we got to touch on the last two on our top 5 teams against the pass. Number 5, of course, was the Jets. Number 4 was the Bucks. Secondary pretty vicious, even though, as we said, they might have some problems this week with injuries. Number 3 team, probably the only team tough against the pass, but not going to make the playoffs probably is the Denver Broncos. They're number 3. Number 2 on our list, second toughest against the pass this year in the NFL, the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles. They've been great. Their pass rush has been incredible, which helps out on the back end. But Darius Slay back there patrolling. This team has put it together on that side. It's the run where they've had some problems. But again, they signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh to take care of that, which is like incredible, right? If they can produce. So the through the air, that's been the tougher way to beat Philadelphia this year. And I think it's going to continue to be that way down the stretch. And so as teams play them, you've got to keep that in mind. What's their ground game look like? Because that might be the easier path to victory against the Eagles some of these times. So that's number 2. And then number 1 on our list, toughest team in the NFL against the pass. Guys, it's the Dallas Cowboys. They're tough against the run. They're tough against the pass. They're tough. They're tough, guys. They're tough up front. DeMarcus Lawrence and company. I mean, Micah Parsons. Like, they have playmakers in the secondary. Like, this team is pretty stout. Like, it stinks that they're the Cowboys because it's hard for me to project them over the Eagles. I just feel like they're going to cowboy it up in the end and mess it up a little bit. But they have on paper a phenomenal team that's rounding in the playoff form. That defense is going to keep them in most games. But that's the toughest team against the pass this year. And now we've kind of covered the top 5, so we can consider that moving along here. And to end it up this week, guys, let's go ahead and go over our DFS picks for the week. Kept it slim for the cash games, but I got a couple more options for you with tournaments this week, though. Cash game quarterback, we're going to go Jimmy G. Going to have to try to keep up with Miami. I like the opportunity to pass against them versus run. He's got weapons. I like it. So Jimmy G's in play. Wide receiver-wise, A.J. Brown for cash games versus Tennessee Titans. Lock it in. Sutton, we talked about the price being so low, $5,500. We can't ignore that. We got to lock that in. He hasn't, had like the best year ever, but that price is negligent. We know we can get double-digit points from him. Russ can't activate everybody, but he can activate him. I think this is regardless of Judy playing. Gary Wilson, $5,300 coming off that 2-touchdown week, 95 yards. It's another crush matchup. Let's lean into it. That's a soft price. Jets are going to have to pass if they want to stay in this one. And then we're going to recommend, instead of Palmer, DeAndre Carter this week, because the price is only $3,900. That lets us put him in the slot, have a potent lineup in a game where they should have to pass, and he should definitely be in play. He was definitely a focal part of the offense last week. So Keenan Allen coming on a little slower. I think this is just giving him an opportunity, right? And maybe one more week we can cash in at that low price. Tight ends, Kelsey, cash game. I mean, $7,900 locking in if you can, but I'll probably end up going with Kittle, $5K. Higbee's there too, $3,700 check down option for the Rams. I just don't see a lot of other opportunities for them this week. But anyways, Kittle, $5K, that's perfect. That's perfect against this Miami Dolphin defense. He should be able to get in the end zone, chunk the ball. I mean, him and Garoppolo will anchor my cash game lineup. Running backs, Chubb and Hunt. I like that combo. Play them together. That offsets the price of Chubb at $8K. Hunt's only $4,800. Love that. Aaron Jones also in play, $6,900. Lock it in. These are cash game plays. Montgomery for the Bears, $6,200. Patterson for $5,800. We can say we'll use him, and he'll be low owned. We talked about why on the outside runs against the Steelers he should be okay. And Atlanta refuses to not run the ball. And then Brian Robinson at $5,300 because of the injuries to Antonio Gibson. They should lean more on Robinson in a neutral matchup this week. Defensive wise for the cash games, Ravens $4K, the Browns $3,900. Remember they're going up against Houston. Falcons $3,200. That's a decent play right there against Pittsburgh, who should be pretty much standing still in the water. Packers $3K versus the Bears. I like that. That's a good play. All right, tournament plays for our week. Pat Mahomes, $8,300. Lock it in. Try to get him in with Kelsey if you can. Jalen Hurts, $8K. Or Burrow, $6,900. So those would be the ways that I would go, paying up a little this week at tournament for quarterback. And at wide receiver, I've got several options here that you should be interested in. Chase at $7,900. It's a tournament play because he's just coming back, but we want to take a gamble at a sub 8K price for him. Waddle, $7,400. Again, like him, with more attention probably being paid to Hill. I think maybe tougher matchup for Hill. Waddle on the under, I think, has a decent opportunity. The price is high, so a lot of people may not be interested, but we should take a shot. Metcalf and Lockett, I think you play them together. You want to play them separate, that's fine. But $6,700 for Metcalf, Lockett $6K. I'm not sure which one has the better day. I think the opportunity is there for both to have a really good day. I'd be interested. Deebo Samuel, $6,600. Like I said, it's just that he doesn't have – they have injuries in the backfield, and so he has to assume that hybrid role, right? And so just more touches, even though his passing game has been increasing, his participation in the passing game has been increasing. This is good, just more usage. And Christian Kirk, $6,300. We'll make it a tournament play this week. He burned us in cash last week, but great setup against the Lions. Brandon Ayuk, $6,100. Good matchup against Miami. You play Lazard and Watson together if you want. $5,400, $5,200. I would, maybe take a chance there in like a Packer lineup. But you're taking a chance. If you want to play one or the other, that's fine. But I want to stress that I think that's your choice. But it's a tournament play, toss-up, right? Nico Collins, $4,200, should be the lead guy. Price is soft. And then Olamides Zaccheaus, like we said, $3,600. Some pretty decent catches last week. He should be a part of the offense. It's a crush spot for the passing game, so lock him in. Tight ends, Mark Andrews, $6,600. A little tougher matchup, but we believe in it. Hawkinson at $5,200. Good matchup there. Minnesota going up against the Jets. That'll be the thing, like we said, to alleviate some of that pressure the Jets bring. Fryer moves in a good spot at $4,300. Not a lot Piggy can do. I like that he looks for him, so we can get invested there. If you want to bottom out, Evan Ingram at $3K and Harrison Bryant at $2,700. There's a lot of variables with Bryant, but like I said, if you want to bottom out. Running back wise, Josh Jacobs, $7,900. Hopefully the price scares some people off. Let's get invested. That's the path to victory in this one for his team against the Chargers. And then Etienne at $6,400. Hopefully the injury scares some people off. It's a soft price and a good matchup. As we mentioned earlier in the show, play them together. Williams and Swift from the Lions, $6K and $5,600. Those would be the two running back spots. You could play Pierce, Damian Pierce, $5,900. Tournament play because he's running into that rookie wall, but the matchup is good. Pacheco, $5,700. Good matchup, good price. If they get ahead, he should get the run down the stretch. Also, if you want to alleviate price, Rams running backs in a good matchup, Kyron Williams and Akers, but play them together, $5,200 and $5,100. I wouldn't expect much from that, though. I don't see why you couldn't go other ways. Zonovan Knight, $4,600. You want to do that? That's fine. We can do that. And then bottom out there. Vikings, $3,700. Seahawks, maybe play Zonovan along with Ty. Maybe do that. That's something you might want to consider, actually. Vikings for the defense, $3,700. Seahawks, $3,600. And Steelers, $2,600. We can bottom out there. Guys, those are our DFS picks for this week. Hopefully that helps you win some money, make some fantastic picks. You guys know how to find me if you need me, you have questions or whatever. But other than that, we'll meet right back here next week and talk about marching forward on our path to victory. All right, y'all. Peace.